So looking back on this whole case, what do you think the most significant takeaways for the marine industry and the broader international community are?
Probably the most significant thing to me was that there hadn't been a piracy lawsuit in a century. And I don't think the shipping companies, the way the shipping industry works, generally speaking, and this is, by the way, this is pretty big generalization. So I want to say that before I say what I'm about to say. But generally speaking, the way the shipping industry works and has for hundreds of years is it's based in Great Britain primarily. Now there's some places in Asia where there's a huge shipping operation, but all the shipping companies and more importantly, the insurance companies that insure these huge commercial ships are mainly based in London. Matter of fact, Lloyd's of London is kind of the original shipping insurance company. I don't know if you guys know the story behind Lloyd's of London, but basically I think it was in the 1600s. Lloyd's of London was a coffee shop and rich people would get there and it was by the harbor and these ships would go off and that nobody would hear from them for 2 years. I mean, then there was no way to communicate. There was nobody knew. And so these rich people would start essentially making bets on which ships were going to come back. And that turned into the Lloyd's of London insurance market. In any event, the insurance companies and the Lloyd's of Londons of the world, they run the show. I mean, they decide what you can get away with and what you can't. And I think before the lawsuit, Merrill, they didn't think you'd get sued for piracy. There hadn't been a successful lawsuit for piracy in ever, as far as I know, civilly. And this changed the stakes. I mean, when I filed a lawsuit, when you file a lawsuit in the United States, you have to lay out what your claims are. And one of my claims said they didn't have any weapons to defend themselves with. The insurance companies went crazy. They thought I was insane. They're like, what are you talking about? You're going to give these guys guns? That's the most dangerous thing I've ever heard. This is crazy. We're going to raise everybody's rates. Well, 2 years later, that's what everybody does now. So I was right and they were wrong. And so I think probably the biggest thing it's changed the perspective in the insurance markets about what is reasonable and what is not reasonable. And these insurance companies now know that if they send they send ships into areas where there's piracy and they don't have a way to defend themselves, they're going to get sued and they're going to lose. So they know that now. So what does that mean? That means all these mariners are safer because now they're not going to dangerous places without adequate protection. So I think that is the biggest. Piracy is still a problem. I'm not saying it's eradicated, but it's way better now than it was 5, 6, 7 years ago.